Hello and welcome to this episode of Imagineering with my absolutely fantastic special guest from New York, live from New York. It's Kassy LaBorie. Kassy is the principal consultant at Kassy LaBorie Consulting. She's a speaker, instructional designer, classroom facilitator, and author who specializes in virtual learning, teams, and live online technology. She's passionate about helping organizations, learning teams, and training professionals to successfully move to the virtual environment. She is the co-author of Interact and Engage, 50 plus activities for virtual training, meetings, and webinars. It is on Kindle. I checked. You can grab a copy from Amazon. So by all means do that. Just the small amount that I've gleaned from it, I can tell you it's well worth it. So thank you, Kassy, for doing this episode of Imagineering, where we try and help people move up in the world and not just on with it.
I love that. Thank you for having me, Brent. It's wonderful to be here.
Right, so you are a virtual classroom facilitator. What
Exactly.
What does that mean?
It means that I get to help people deliver online training, actually like what we're doing today. So like in Zoom or WebEx or Adobe Connect, national organizations, global organizations need to be able to connect in an easy way. And unfortunately, a lot of people just get a link, read slides, call for questions, and hope the learning worked, which usually it doesn't. And so that's where I enter in, and they say, how do we do this? How do we do this in a way that that we all enjoy, but importantly, that it's effective and that it works.
So this is basically you train people in how to be able to use this technology to have global meetings where it actually is effective.
Right. So in like learning programs, and so the strategies around the learning, how do we put together materials and experiences that people are going to want to be a part of, and that importantly work, and that they're able to then apply on the job, in their environments.
Right. So it's more about using the platform to be able to facilitate better learning rather than using the program itself.
Right. It's like of course you got to learn how to use the program, but technically you could go to YouTube and learn how to use the program, and you could also log in and learn how to use the program, but using the program to make it work.
Yeah.
And also to love your job still, a lot of people who present and facilitate and teach classes, we love that. We love helping other people learn. And then when they gave us a WebEx login, all of a sudden I couldn't connect. I couldn't see people. I couldn't engage with them. They weren't learning. There were no questions. Everybody was bored, including me. So what do I do? How do I make this work? And it's pretty challenging. Not everybody is comfortable. In fact, most people are not comfortable trying to deliver an entire learning program in this kind of environment where we're connected from our different offices, via some sort of audio connection. I mean, just plugging in a headset alone is a barrier to teaching someone how to, manage software or, connect with a team.
What challenges are there besides now the inhibitions to start learning a new way of interacting with people on a global scale? What sort of other mindset changes or challenges are there towards digital learning or learning via a platform such as Zoom or WebEx or Adobe Connect?
Well, what first comes to mind for me is that I think we're very open to technology. I mean, so many people are using technology. I mean, that's what we do. I think, though, that what immediately comes to mind and what I experience with people is that we might know how to, use it, but we don't necessarily know how to use it in a way that's going to work well. I can get on camera, I can talk, but then what from there? And so, the biggest thing, and often where I'm starting, like the first challenge with people is just, guess what? Your attendees, they don't know how to learn like this. They don't know what they're supposed to do, in setting up their own office. I mean, I used to teach, I used to be a Microsoft trainer, and I would teach, Excel and Word and PowerPoint and those things. And we had training classrooms for that, or the client had classrooms for that. And so long before anybody arrived to learn Excel that day, all the computers were set up, all the software was loaded, all the chairs were set up so that they were facing a certain way. Every single wall, every single corner, all the materials, all of it was all prepped and prepared. And you arrived, and then it was up to me to lead you through something that you pay attention to that day, right? But when we went online, all of a sudden you're at your own desk, and everybody's desk is different. Everybody's computer is different. And depending what version you have of whatever you have, it might look different for you. The Mac might look different. If somebody comes in on the phone, they can't do certain stuff. So all of a sudden there's all these different variables, and I don't really have control over it. And so now what I have to do is get control over that and start teaching people, okay, this is how we're going to communicate. This is a chat. This is how you draw on the screen. This is how in some cases, this is how you have different windows open at the same time. This is how you unmute yourself. Oh, wait, this is how you connect your audio so that we can even hear you. And then this is how you unmute yourself. Right? When do I talk? When am I supposed to talk? They don't even know that. And so people are going to default, usually most people default to not talking because they don't want to interrupt, or they don't know how to connect the thing. When I go to training in person. So and then am I supposed to raise my hand? No one can see me. Oh, I'm supposed to click to raise my hand? That's weird.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all of these weird things.
It is weird. And I think especially, I don't think that the brick and mortar sort of classroom is going to go away anytime soon. But I thought today, preparing for this interview, I mean, I just talk, and I think that we're actually sitting in this problem now where a lot of children, we have to do split schooling, where some children have to go to school in the afternoons because there's just not enough classrooms and enough teachers to go around to actually have all the children learning at one time. And I'm thinking now, what is the price of a tablet and a internet connection in a school, right, per child? I mean, Google could possibly make their products cheap enough so that we can actually afford them to be able to facilitate learning in an environment where we can actually have all the children sit wherever they are and learn something. And I think especially now, because you mentioned that it has to be engaging, right? You can't just say, here are my slides, it's like, it's PDF, just download them and whatever. It has to be engaging. And I think
in some way,
yeah,
in some way, and that engaging is different for each person.
Yeah.
But if we just put PowerPoint slides out there and expect that people are going to, learn from them, then it's not the case. I mean, there is the occasional person who does learn that way, but most people don't.
Most people don't. Look, I love going to SlideShare and looking at all these different slides, but content without context doesn't really mean much.
That's right.
So I was thinking today, this is the way the future is. This is the future, right? We have to be I don't know what you want to call it, the champions of e-learning, I think. And because I don't know anybody else that does what you do. And look, I know a lot of people, right? But it's never come up. It's never come up that someone actually teaches other people how to be a better presenter online by using all these skills. And because I honestly, I've actually been looking now, who else does this? And I couldn't find anybody. So this,
I know a couple of others.
I'm sure you do, because you're in that field, right? But to me, it's something completely different.
Yeah, it's true.
So how did you start?
Well, it was quite by accident. I was that Microsoft trainer. I lived in San Francisco, California, and I was driving down the 101, which is a very busy freeway. If you're on that highway, you are usually there for at least an hour, if not more. And I'm driving, and I see a billboard that had RuPaul as the ad campaign, and it was very beautiful. And RuPaul is saying, meetings used to be a real drag. Or the other one was, we've got to start meeting like this. And so I was like, what's that company? And, I went and looked it up and turned out they were hiring for a trainer. And the next thing you know, I'm working for WebEx as a product trainer. And so I was already a software trainer. I got a job as a product trainer for a new software company called WebEx. And what would happen to me then, I was teaching people how to start a meeting, how to share PowerPoint slides, connect your audio, all that business. Uh, and then people would say, okay, Kassy, we get where to click, but how do we be like you? How do we make it so that people want to connect? And that question would come up a lot. And, I went on, I've had a number of different jobs since then, basically answering that same question. And it was 2.5 years ago that I just decided, I'm just going to work for me and help people answer this question, in their own way. I mean, it is very much my style to immerse people in the experience so they can see what we're talking about. Because even as you were opening our session up tonight, you're talking about, wait, what is it that you do? Can you explain it? And we can talk about it. But as soon as we're in it and we're trying to experience it, then people start to go, oh yeah, I get it.
Right.
Yeah, that was really hard to do. And now I get it. I get that. Oh, I can connect with Brant across all the, we're very far apart, and it's
Yeah.
still the day for me. So it's the evening for you. It's like, that's amazing. And it also doesn't actually matter. And so, getting in like this and learning it and being all part of it is really very much my style. And we create it. And then, as you've seen, we were together several months ago. After we've experienced it, then I love to break it down and go, wait a second, what was the point? What did that feel like? What would you change? What features did we use? And how might you translate that into what you do? And then all of a sudden, it feels like I'm like a person handing out presents. My job is to hand out presents.
Oh, that's
because
cool.
people are like, oh, I get it. I'm going to do this now, and it's like, trainers are such a talkative, creative people anyway, aren't they? So
It's absolutely true. And when you said that, when the people were disengaged, bored, basically, and that's one thing. But if the trainer is bored with what they need to present, then you've lost everything, because there's no coming back from that. There's no creating a better learning environment if the trainer doesn't care about what they're training.
It's the first place. After we focus on people don't know how to learn here, then we get into, okay, let's talk about me. Let's talk about you. Because if I were to be like, hey everyone, welcome. Let's get started on our communication skills today. You're going to be like, okay, maybe she's a cheerleader, but all right, I'm with her right now. Versus, okay, everybody, is this thing on?
This thing
Okay.
on? Click, click, click.
We're going to try to learn communication skills today. I don't know, can you guys see my slides? Like, if I have that kind of tone, I may not say those exact words, but if I have that tone, or if I have a tone of, okay, we're going to learn communication skills today, and on the agenda are the following items, like that's, we have to figure out, how do I make this about my participants? And how do I make it for them, about them, how they will use it? Because otherwise, frankly, I don't have a job. I don't need to deliver a training if there are no participants. So, and ultimately, it isn't for me. It is for those who are here. And so it's going to be my job to figure out how to make that matter. And the only way to make that matter is to connect with people. And I've got this amazing technology that's allowing me to connect. So let me figure out ways to do that.
But it's brilliant, because I was sort of pushed out of my comfort zone when I was asked to present at one of the PSA SA meetings on creative thinking. And I thought, how am I going to do this online when all the stuff that I've ever done up to this point has been, involving balloons and hula hoops and all kinds of things to help people learn? It's like, now I really need to sort of think differently and think a bit more and plot out. But I got it done. And then later on, we had this mastermind or workshop or some sort of presentation that you were involved with. And I thought, wow, there's more people that actually, that write books on these things. Why didn't I Google this beforehand? But it was so much fun. And I learned a lot from that presentation that you did about using the online tools to better facilitate learning online. And I stole a lot and I use them now. And so no, it's not a big hassle for me to say, look, if we can't get you here, then I'd rather just do it online, because there's a lot of people online that has to do it all at once. And it doesn't matter, like you said, if you're in New York, I'm here in Swakopmund, Namibia, what is it, 8 hours apart or something like that. It's a distance and it's a time, but it doesn't matter, because the internet has made a lot more things available for us. And I don't
Oh.
know if that was possible, or I don't know who thought of this was going to be the future. Like
Mhm.
20 years ago, I don't know anybody that thought this is going to be learning.
It's hard for me to believe that I was teaching people how to be in a meeting like this 20 years ago. But I think that there were some people thinking of it. If you think about too, the Jetsons, the
Yeah,
Star, they were trying to do it too, weren't they?
that's right. Because they
But
were actually, yeah, there was that's right. But I also now, because I was watching Star Trek last night, as I tend to do, and they were learning through using the computer. The children were in the, and the thing is, it was engaging for the children. It wasn't just a one size fits all sort of program. The programs could adapt to the learner. And like you said, you need to be sure that when you present something, you need to make sure that it's going to be possible for the learner to do this on a tablet, on a phone, on a Mac, on a PC, on a desktop, a
Mhm.
laptop, or whatever it may be. So you have to take a lot of things into account.
It's not easy. I mean, it isn't easy, but ultimately when I'm putting together any kind of learning event or presentation that will be delivered online, it's for me about what you'll be doing. I imagine me sitting there listening in whatever way I might be listening in, and what are you going to do with whatever I have to say? And so for me, I'm always trying to design activity around what you'll do with it. So it's a big thing for me, rather than saying, oh, I've got all this content to share. I tend to be like, I've got this content, but what will they do?
Mm,
And so I want to focus the live time together, because this is live. You and I, it's the same time, even though it's a different time zone. We are here together.
yeah.
And so what are we going to do? And how are we going to spend our time together? And you sitting and listening to me is going to be an unlikely engaging choice for you. So it's the lazy choice for me, in a lot of ways. And if that's the case, why didn't I just make a recording for you and send it over? Right.
Right, but it's not engaging, is it? I mean, it's not. Uh, you need to
And
have someone to
videos are.
facilitate learning.
I mean,
Some
it is like videos are engaging, but I'm going to make a video, I'm going to produce it, I'm going to do certain things. It's not going to be an hour, you know.
right.
So certainly there's a lot of techniques for making video engaging, but to open up a Zoom like we've done and to be a talking head for an hour, people don't really want that.
Yeah.
Mm. And the thing is that this platform in particular is very strong. WebEx is strong. Adobe, a lot of them are really strong nowadays. I mean, really, if you have chat, whiteboard, breakout, audio, video, polling, screen share, then all those things, that's pretty much all I ever use for all the different activities. And you and I did a whole bunch when we were in that session together. I'm so excited to hear that you were inspired by it. I'm curious to hear what you've done with it and how you took some of the examples and said, here's my stuff and here's how I'll do that.
Yeah, but especially your story technique, where we had to make circles around the images.
Oh,
It's like, that's
yeah.
very cool, and I do that now, especially when I try and get people to sort of think to challenge their thinking, and yeah,
I
it
love
works.
that. So that's the one where you show a screen that has some images on it. You ask people to connect the images and tell the story of whatever they've learned or whatever they're thinking, whatever way they're making the connection.
Right.
I love doing that one online because you can actually use the drawing tools.
Yeah.
Because I do that one in person too, because guess what? That's an activity that works well in person.
Mm.
And, it's just that they can't draw on the screen in person, right? But like if I have a clicker that'll let them point, then I do that. But there's something about when we're online and drawing the circles that's actually kind of more engaging.
It is. I was attending a workshop with Dorian Harhoff, who's a creative storyteller, and he teaches people in business to tell a story. And he was also doing the pictures and creating a story. He would take us through the entire workshop and teach us how to tell stories and all kinds of things. And he says a story doesn't have to be long to be engaging, and then he puts up a bunch of pictures, and then he asks people to sort of, create a story from the images. You don't have to use all the images, but just try and create a story. And people would usually, not always, but usually use a person in a story. Like if there's a person or human being in a story, the human being would take central stage. I would usually go for the animal, because animals and fables are just nicer stories to me. But that's preference. And I think designing information or designing courses where information needs to be shared and to get people to understand the value of it must be quite challenging at times. Because like I said, you've got a lot of tools, but which tools do you use for which purpose? Do you have like a design process or something?
My process is, what's the point first and foremost? What am I trying to achieve? And I'm as clear about that as possible, with help sometimes. Number two, because I'm often designing training that's live with people together, I look at the objectives that are part of a bigger learning program that are best for people to learn together. Because online too, there's the whole point about people don't usually like to be here longer than about 2 hours. If I push it past 2 hours, I've given them a really long break. so that doesn't mean that the stuff that we need to learn goes away. It just means that I have less time to get through it. And so I'm going to choose the things that people need to learn together. And I'm going to put those other objectives that maybe you could learn on your own in a different format: video, discussion board, reading, whatever it might be. So I'm looking really closely at what are we doing together. And then third, I'm looking at what platform I'm using. If it's Zoom like we're using today, I know that Zoom has chat, whiteboard, breakout, like I mentioned, polling. And so then I'm looking at, okay, well, what am I doing in this moment? So in the case of, the images and wanting people to tell a story, which maybe the point for me to have them tell a story would be to assess what they've learned at that point. For me, obviously, I'm going to show those images, and then probably good to have audio and the annotation tools so they can circle. So a lot of times I'm looking at, what is it that I'm doing? If I want to do like a brainstorm, if I pulled up a slide that maybe had one image on it and I wanted people to reflect on that image, maybe it's a class on culture, and I pull up an image that represents culture in some way. Maybe I might choose chat as the way for them to respond, because it's easier to type a whole lot via the chat than it would be to try to type it on a board, right? Or on a whiteboard, I mean. So the chat is easier because we're used to that on a keyboard, and that might be why I might go for a chat versus, if I had everyone talk, then it's only one person at a time, and now I'm probably only going to call on a couple of people. But if I want everyone to consider it, then the chat's a really great way for us to concurrently think without, getting in each other's way. So it kind of depends on what the activity is and just how the feature itself functions. Another example would be with polling. Polling is very controlled. And so if I want the control, it's great to ask a question and give you certain choices. Because I want the control. Like, what's the best way for our company to communicate the new strategy? Well, they only have 4 ways that I can offer. So I'm going to let them choose of the 4 which one they think is the best. I'm not going to be like, which way is the best? And they come up with 15 others that I can never implement. So that wouldn't be helpful. But if I have free reign with that, then a chat would be better, because a poll would be too controlling. So it depends on the feature, and rather, it depends on the objective, which feature I often choose. All things considered equal, I just mix it up because people get bored.
Right.
We've done a lot of whiteboards. Let's move to chat. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm sick of it.
It's like, yeah, I'm over this now. Let's get the next thing done.
I'm tired of your bad drawings. Let's go to chat.
Yeah, let's go to chat. It's like, okay, yeah. I told you I'm an artist, but I can't draw a stick figure, so let's just move on. Ignore my crappy drawings.
I know, it's so funny. Like, that never happens. But, we've done a lot of drawing. I think I want to chat now. Or, like if we're on the webcam, sometimes it's like, let's just turn off the webcams for a moment and think, I'm sick of looking at everybody, That doesn't happen either. Yeah, sometimes it's arbitrary like that, where you've been on one thing too long, so let's do something different. Like a big one, like when should I do a breakout? Well, when I have time, because, it takes time to get into one, a breakout
Yeah.
being a small group. And then, when people are sick of listening to just me, like give them a chance to go work with each other for a little bit, they
But I
usually
think,
like it.
yeah, but that's the point of being a facilitator. You're not the old school teacher that's like, I'm the only one that's going to talk now, and you just have to sit there and you just have to listen, right? Make some
Yeah.
notes if you feel like it, but honestly, I couldn't care. A facilitator, a facilitator, a
Now try to
facilitator,
type that too.
that's what I'm saying, a facilitator, yeah, right? They're there to facilitate learning. They're there to encourage. I tell people, it's like, look, I don't know your company the way you know your company, right? I don't know you guys the way you know each other, but I'm here to help you find answers. I'm
Yeah.
not here to give it to you because I don't have the answers of your business or your strategies, but I can be the facilitator to guide you towards the knowledge that you need.
I think
And
it's the way of learning today. Like
yeah,
we're there to help them think and consider, and then guide them along to along the path to application.
yeah.
And to help them consider where they might hit road bumps, where they need examples of how they are likely to succeed. But ultimately, each person is going to do it in their way. And I used to work for Dale Carnegie, and one of the things there's a Dale Carnegie quote that just is in my head all the time. I love it. It is, "People will support a world they help to create."
That's true. I've seen
And
that
so
a
our
lot
job
of
is to
times.
help them create. Our job isn't to say, "Here's the world, now go support it." Our job as facilitators, as learning leaders, is to say, "Hey, look, here's some ideas. You have a world that you need to create to support. So let's help you be part of building that."
I
And
think that's very true. I've been thinking now recently about the troubles in South Africa and everywhere else really. When people just don't take responsibility, it's because they've had no input in what's happening. They didn't help create the world, so why should they take care of it? I saw that with my project when I started the Food is Free project in my town. That the school that I was in is a mess, right? There's papers and rubbish lying everywhere except in the garden. There's children that have to build that garden. That garden stays immaculate because they take care of it because they had to put in the effort.
aw,
It's such a
yeah,
difference that it makes when you get people to come up with the solutions and then implement it.
it's like we have to be less in control. And
Hmm.
that idea that we're there to guide along, and we have to earn the trust and the respect of people before they'll even hear it.
Yeah.
And then to be there. And I think that if you think about how you earn trust, if you earn respect, it's about getting to know others. And that's people, like, you think about, like, the restaurant that you always go back to is the one where the people remember your name. Like here in the US, Cheers, where everybody knows your name.
Right.
Like if I go to my favorite restaurant, and our favorite guy, he comes to the desk, he's like, "Do you guys want what you normally get?" And I'm like, yes, I do. And he brings it to the table, and I don't even need the menu. It's wonderful. Now, that's not to say I don't try new things, but
Yeah, absolutely.
he knows, and it feels really good, and we go there all the time. And it's like big smiles. And so that's that person taking the time to say, who are you, and what do you need, and then remembering that. And
Hmm.
then that's how you build that trust. And then that's the same thing that we need to do in learning. And so I spend a lot of time in virtual classroom environments just helping people connect as real people and get to know each other. And I don't find any of that a waste of time. In fact, I find if you're not doing that, you're wasting your time because
Yeah.
nobody's paying attention. And so it's not that it's all fun and games, but what's important are relationships and trust and respect, and then we can get to the business at hand, because you know that I've got you. You know.
But that's true. And I just think about my relationship with my mentor, Dr. Robert Allen Black. We were connected with each other, and he lives in Atlanta, and I live here in Namibia. and we just started we started with Skype, I think, and then we switched to Facebook, and then finally Zoom, and we have this understanding and relationship, and it works, even though we are very far apart. We live in very different countries, and I only ever met him physically once for like 3 days when he was here with a conference. I've never learned as much and wanted to learn more from anybody, and that's from an online platform with someone who I've never physically met.
Yeah, because he took time to spend time with you, connect with you,
Exactly.
learn about who you are, what you're working on, and he heard you and listened to you. And that means a lot, and that goes really far. It doesn't matter that it was online.
Yeah. And I think this is the future. This is the way the world
Mhm.
goes. And that's not a bad thing. It's actually a very good thing, because we are closing the gap of distance between everybody. And I think one of the bigger problems of the world today is that we don't connect with other people anymore. And
I know. And then also like being unique and making
yeah,
sure that we don't lose our culture. It's kind of wonderful that there's a Starbucks everywhere, but it's also kind of not, like there's that too. I
definition of
mean,
bittersweet. Yeah.
yeah, like I don't want it to change, but at the same time, how do we do both? Like, how do we maintain what is unique and wonderful about every culture, every person, because the more that we connect, the more that we become the same in some ways, right?
I think that's possibly true. But I also think that we become better versions of ourselves if we
Hmm.
connect,
Oh
because
yeah,
we understand that it's not just us. It's not just me
yeah.
thinking these things. There are other people that have the same sort of outlook or mindsets. And even when you connect with people who are distinctly different than you, and if you can keep an open mind, that being said, you learn more from people who are different than people who are the same.
I love that about all this technology and just the more global we are. It's so easy to connect. Why wouldn't you take advantage of it? So you could see, I mean, we are so similar in all of our difference, and
That's true.
it's the
Yeah.
answer. Yeah,
Similar in our difference. I like that. Like, I was
I
speaking
love
to this
that.
one guy, and his religious views and life outlook is not mine, right? But I found value in what he said,
Mhm.
and I did that through Zoom, and I think that's like one of the difficulties is I think that we need to start living more globally and not just locally.
Well, I know, isn't it true? Oh my gosh, the more that we can do that, the better off we're going to be.
Yeah.
I
So
I mean,
any
as long as we can be open enough,
yeah.
we need to, right? We need to. I mean, it's we and I think we are. I think there are so many people that are. I mean, look at what you and I are doing. So,
Absolutely. So, as a
yeah.
final thought, any advice for someone who's wants to start their journey as an online facilitator, or trying to become more available online? I think is the phrase I want to go with.
Yeah, like for me, it has always been, what do I love about what I do?
Mm.
And how do I do that here? And so, like those opener activities that made everyone comfortable enough to want to learn Excel, you know, boring, but very important.
To
uh,
learn to excel. Yeah.
or learn the Microsoft Excel. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, to learn to Excel.
Learn to
Exactly.
excel. Yeah.
uh, what did I love about that? And then, okay, if I'm going to be using the Zooms, the WebExes, the Adobes, whatever it is,
Mm.
to really get comfortable, just log in, start those sessions, log a second computer in as an attendee, and play around till you feel comfortable enough, and then just do the things you love doing. When I used to teach people Excel for the first time, what we would do is we would build a spreadsheet on our vacation and all the expenses that are involved in planning a vacation. And then the joke at the end would be, okay, we're turning this into our bosses, right? We're so clear that we have the spreadsheet ready to go. But it was really fun planning all of that. Like, how much money do you need for your shopping? And the
Mm.
guys are like, $5, and the women are like thousands. So, usually, to be stereotypical, but not all of them. But some women are like, I'm not going shopping. But anyway, and so looking at that activity was really successful in people in helping people to learn how to build a spreadsheet, to accurately put in the data, to use the different formulas to add it up, to be able to present it to someone, to build a case to send you on that vacation. And so then looking at, okay, if I'm going to teach that online, okay, log in. That's my favorite activity. What are the different ways that I can do that same activity here in this environment? And just practice that, and then try that. Try your favorite thing as a test with a group of people. And the next thing you know, you'll probably really like it, because you like it when you're in person. And so you'll probably really like it when you try it online, if you keep practicing and, just making it as comfortable as you possibly can. Because these tools are pretty strong today. I mean, Zoom is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's brilliant. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, so this has been an episode of Imagineering. I think I've taken up enough of Kassy's time. You can connect with her on KassyConsulting.com, and you can leave her a message there. And of course, if you have any tips of online facilitation, please leave a comment on the YouTube channel or wherever you're watching this or listening to this. And tell me your thoughts. What is the world of online learning like today? And where do you think this is going? And how can we best facilitate learning on a global scale? But let's try and move up in the life and not just on with it. This has been Imagineering. Thank you, Kassy.